So I've been a drug addict for about 10 years. I started at the age of 24, and I got clean for the first time. I've experienced sobriety twice. My first time was in 2016 when I lost my children. And, at the beginning, I never really understood the concept of when people would say, get clean for your kids. I always thought well, people are right. I should be able to get clean for my kids. They should be my strongest motivation, And I never really understood when other drug addicts would tell me, dude, your kids won't keep you clean. You got to keep yourself clean, And I didn't really caught on to that, So at the beginning, I did it because I was court mandated, And at that time, my kids we were living in a van. Me and my husband and my 5 children. Angel was parentified at that time. At the age of 5, he had to pretty much raise my other kids. He had to feed them. He had to change them. We didn't have a stability, and living off of a car, literally we would have to go behind buildings pretty much and, just bathe them, with cold water. A lot of times my Isaiah caught pneumonia, and I don't even know how I did it, but by the grace of God, they're all healthy, and in 2016, when they removed him, I was so grateful, for the first time I was like, God exists. I was really bad in my addiction. I was already shooting up dope. Nothing else mattered. All I really lived for and cared for was my dope, and I wasn't even happy getting high anymore. It just became a routine. I hated myself so much that I just hope one day I didn't wake up, literally my kids would see me behind the van trying to look for a vein, and I mean, I'm thinking that the little ones probably don't remember a lot, but I know Joseph and Angel did, and for me now to think back of the things that I could prevented them from them seeing, all that trauma, all that hurt, again, it was my disease, and so when God stepped in and CPS stepped in my life, I thought God, there's a God out there, I wasn't ready to surrender just yet, I knew that God existed because God heard my cry, and the day that CPS took them in, I was so grateful because I knew that my kids no longer had to starve. They no longer had to wake up being cold, or whether we were going to run out of gas or run out of food, because that was our daily struggle, and where was mom, where was dad, shooting up, in the car, literally, I would have to come up, go in the store, take my oldest, steal food so that we can be able to provide, and that was my thing, and again, it was my addiction that took me that far, and when CPS came in, I decided to, get clean and sober, but again, I now realize that I did it for the wrong reasons, as soon as my case closed, I was running and gunning. The minute my case closed, I went back to the syringe, and I thought that I can be a functional addict, right? I never really tried church at that time. When I first got clean, for me, it was NA meetings, I kept hearing, if you stay in the meetings of Narcotics Anonymous, you'll stay clean, and in NA, they talk about God, right? So for me, it was okay, I know there's a God, but I don't need church, and slowly but surely, I thought that I had it under control. I got this, no one did it for me. I did it, I deserve, I got my case, I got my kids, I have a job, I have a roof, I have a car, I can get high, of course, slowly but surely fell back into it pretty quickly, and within 2 years, lost my home. I got kicked out from my parents' home, was jobless, carless, in the streets, walking down the streets, literally towards this park, Memorial Park, with my children, walking to their school, literally crying, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't want it to stop, I did not want it to stop, but yet I knew that this wasn't a life for them, and I really think that I'm a product of prayer. I really believe that, I have a lot of family that are Christian, they're not near, but they're, I have a lot of family that have been praying me into, where I'm at today. And I really believe that it's because of them, people that stood in my gap, that were able to allow me to experience God's love today, and all I needed to do was just become willing, and it wasn't easy, February 13, 2020, I decided to go into a detox center, and I ended up putting my children into Olive Crest Safe Families, which is a temporary foster home, and it was either that or my parents were calling CPS, and I was already on the street, so I was gonna either lose them or I was gonna go get help, and in my mind, like, I know that was God, like, I know that inside of me, like, I didn't even care if my kids got lost, to be honest with you. Like, I was at that point where, like, if they get lost, oh well, they'll find a better mom, they'll find a home, like they won't have to ever go through this, like, I thought that was what was best, but that was just the enemy lying to me, and thank God that the detox had a bed, and I hesitated, but God put people, now I look at it, and God put people at the right time in his timing. There was no mistakes. Like, the person that came and picked me up and took me to my detox, to the minute I got to my detox, like, there was a girl there that was ready to sponsor me. Like, she was a Christian girl, like, been there, done that. Like, right away she connected with me, and like, to me, that was God all the way. Now I look at that, and it's like God put so many people in my life that, I'm extremely grateful. And I think that's what keeps me going today, even on my worst days, because I'm not gonna lie. Some days are not the best. Sometimes my head is louder, my thoughts are louder, and it's hard to shut it up sometimes, and yes, I do pray, and I'm learning this new person that's new in Christ, and commitment, right? And just being a part of, ministry now. Like, all this is new to me, but I have my days, and sobriety doesn't mean that everything's perfect and unicorns and butterflies, like, there are days where I struggle, but one thing I do know, that staying plugged and staying connected, coming to church, being of service, is what keeps me going, being able to share strength and hope with others,
Who was hurt from your addiction? Obviously your kids, but, if you can elaborate on who got hurt along the way in your journey.
My parents, my dad. Like, my dad's the old school type of Mexican, what's black is black, what's white and white, and we have always have had our differences when it comes to addiction. He really believes that there's no such thing as addict. Like, there's willpower, and like, God's not gonna save you. Like it's you. Like, you have to. And I still kind of debate on that with them today, because I share with them, like, no, Dad, like, God is the one that, like, it's because of him. Like, you don't understand. Like, he doesn't understand why, like, for example, I had to come here today. He doesn't understand, but he supports me. Don't get me wrong. He supports me because he knows obviously something's working, right? This is the longest I've been clean. Why? What's the biggest thing that's changed? God has stepped in. I've allowed him to stay. That's the difference today.